Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's myself, Glenn, Stefan Bubalo. I'm here with the ever youthful Glenn Higgs.
Hey, let's see if the applause.
Let's see if that works. Bit of laughter in there as well. It's Monday night, which of course means Monday Night News with, again, Glenn Higgs, Stefan Bubalo. We're coming to you guys. We're a little bit early. We're just waiting for the audience to build up. While we're waiting, guys, just want to say happy Father's Day to everybody out there. Glenn, you're a father. How's your day yesterday?
Oh, look, magnificent day. Breakfast in bed, coffee, bit dusty. Had some people over the night before. So it was a great way to start. Down the beautiful North Curl. A lot of people down there don't like me promoting it. It gets too crowded, they reckon, but that was great. Then back home for a barbecue. So
beautiful,
perfect Sunday.
Great way to spend it, huh?
Yourself, Steph?
Yeah, it's very good. Blessed with 3 beautiful kids. And yeah, just had a good day. Everyone had a good time. We went out and visited my mum and dad later, and had a barbecue there. So life's good. You know what? You're a rich man. A rich man's a man with good family. So
look, that's very true, mate. It couldn't be said better. We've rehearsed that all day.
All day we've been working on that.
Yeah.
But look, guys, it's hitting 8 o'clock, and tonight we've got a great topic for everybody out there. Hopefully there is some content here for everybody. We're trying not to focus just on the Northern Beaches this evening. We're trying to go out to a broader audience.
We've been told that
we're a digital agency.
Yeah, worldwide audience.
We're a media agency.
Worldwide.
Well, look, most of our conversation will come around New South Wales, but tonight we're going to be talking about land, and more specifically buying a block of land. Some of the steps involved in building. As agents, we don't generally look after the building phase of property, but we can help with a few questions there. So, guys, any questions? If you've got anything, just jump in, shoot a comment to us. Alessia, thank you for watching, and guys, any questions, just throw them through. Yeah, we'll answer them for you.
Look,
but Glenn, let's start.
Well, Australia has been so successful. People have gone out and put a bit of rope around some dirt and called that their own, and started to build. In the later years now, developers do that, rezone it, or do what they need to do to make that land into a residential site.
Yep.
And then people build homes there.
Yep.
With the current situation, the government wants people to build. It's been a success story. You get a plumber who buys materials, who buys food. It's trickled down economics at its best. So they're giving money to people that want to go out and build a new home.
Yep.
Or contract someone to build a new home
Yep.
for them.
Yep.
And there's some great incentives. Jump online, check them out. Do vary a little bit state to state. So we're not going to talk about that too much tonight, but we're going to get a little bit of an insight what to look for from the man who sold 30 blocks in Warriewood, and they were so happy they named the street after him.
Yeah, pretty lucky there. And look, a lot to learn from that process. So we're going to share all of that with you guys firsthand. Glenn, how important also with the whole situation, COVID, to have that building sector performing, like you just said, economically, how it just trickles down to so many different
the
levels.
government's obviously earmarked it as, we're talking about building, it's a bit cliche, but a building block behind the economy. So they're going to put some money behind it and, give families the opportunity to get into a home. Now, a lot of these incentives don't really work on the Northern Beaches because of our land price.
Yeah.
So what we're even finding, the unit I sold in this block, they've taken advantage of that. They've moved a little bit further west. I was talking to CC from Global Real Estate Property Specialists. They're selling blocks and turnkey projects up in Greta, which is near
Hunter Valley,
near Cessnock, Maitland, and some
amazing
deals up there. 600,000 dual.
That's a land and house. That's everything.
Yeah,
house on a block of land.
Yeah. So we've talked about it before on Novak News. People looking for sea or tree changes.
Yeah.
Get out of Sydney, work remote, work to task, not to time. All these options are popping up.
Okay.
But Steph, what should you consider when buying a block of land?
Look, I think obviously budget's a big thing. So know your budget. You've got to be smart about what it is. That one, what's the land going to cost you, and two, what's the build going to cost you. A lot of people have big dreams. You go into these home builders, and of course, everything they're showing you is the best of the range. But you've got to work to a budget first and foremost. If it's an area you're not maybe aware of, is go out and look at some of the homes that are on the market reselling, just to give you an idea on market value for those style of properties. But generally, look, I think if I'm a buyer and I want to buy a block of land and I'm going to go through the process of building a home, I'd also like to know that once I've got that key in hand, I might even have a little bit of cream, in the value of my home. So hopefully I'll come in a little bit under market value and could help me refinance maybe once I'm finished with the build.
Yeah, well, you want to be sort of paid for your blood, sweat, and tears,
absolutely.
For going through.
It's a family home. You'll be there for a while. But look, a lot of things to look at, and let's jump in.
So, what about DA, non-DA sites? What does that mean?
Yep. So a DA stands for development application. A DA is a development application. If it's in DA, that means that. And sorry, I'll take it back a step. If you're looking at buying into a brand new estate, there might be 30, 50, 80, 100 blocks in some of these estates. Pre-DA means that the entire project has yet to be finalised through council. So that's one thing. Post-DA means that obviously, or a DA approved site means that council's approved and said, yes, they're the blocks that you're going to be getting, they're the block sizes, there's the exact positioning, the roads, everything's 100% guaranteed with the DA once it's approved. Now, you would think to yourself, why would anybody buy a property pre-DA? It's the same as an off-the-plan apartment. Generally, a developer will be offering you a better price to jump in early. They need those pre-sales to meet certain criteria for building the project. So that's one benefit of jumping in, but just be mindful that certain things can change from pre-DA to an actual DA-approved property.
Yeah, it's that old adage in life, risk and reward. You take a little bit more risk, you might get a greater reward.
And that's a good way to put it, Glenn, 100%. So that's the difference kind of pre-DA and post-DA.
And finance, how does that work?
So finance, again, ties in with that. If you're buying a property pre-DA, or even at the early stages of a release, and this again is relevant to an off-the-plan apartment or a home or whatever you're buying, you will need to be obviously having your finance approved to sign the contract. The bank will want to see that you can service the purchase of the land. But if this may be an 18-month project or a 6-month project, you will be reassessed again at the end of the project to make sure you meet the criteria. And with certain factors going on, sometimes that can change. So you want to make sure that if you are signing in the earlier stages, don't change your employment. You don't want to increase your spending drastically because you're going to have to re-meet that criteria as that block's ready for you to buy, or that house or townhouse, whatever is ready for you. Yeah.
And the term register the land, because all these things come up, I think I've sold apartments in DY for 3 families. They're actually going out Box Hill way. Yeah. And they asked me, they're yet to register the land.
What's the register?
What does that mean? And, obviously they ask these questions, possibly of their solicitor. But, he's only dealing with, the transaction, the exchange or the settlement. He's not there necessarily all the time to deal with, I don't know this term, I don't know that term. So what do they mean by
registered versus unregistered?
Yeah.
So the developer might be out there building the land. It looks like it's all finished. It has to go through a final process called registration. And this is the process where the property will actually be going through the wheels of the Lands and Titles Office. And it's at this point that it's going to be given a street number. So it's gone from a giant piece of dirt to number 4 Jones Street. And now it's technically got a PO box, like post office address, as 4 Jones Street. So once it's registered, that is technically now identified as its own block of land, its own address in the world that we live in. So pre-registered simply means that it just hasn't gone through the process of being finalised through the Lands and Titles Office. But to be honest with you, all it really is the legal process of giving you a street address to your block of land and saying your block of land now exists, in the real world.
Okay, so like a lot of people, you know, they come from a unit and they go buy a block of land.
Yep.
And they think, well, I'm just, you know, I'm king of my castle. I'm going to build from the gutter to the back fence and to the other fence. Like,
nah.
Where do we find where we can build and what we can build? And
yeah,
because I own the land, mate.
Yeah, I bought the land. I want to build as big a house as I can, and I'm glad you asked me, Glenn, because I've got a printout.
Oh.
So from a project we've just completed, you want to know what your setbacks are. So these are called your setbacks: front, rear, and side setbacks. They vary from your ground floor to your first floor as well. So you may want to ask a developer if he's got a plan like this. And this is called a building envelope plan. And essentially what it does is it's going to outline the block, and then it's going to show you within that the homes that can be built on that block as well. Now, this is important for a few things. One is the setbacks can vary. So even though the suburb might have certain rules, the development within the suburb could have its own rules as well. And this is vital when you're speaking to a builder, because they're going to want to know, okay, does our home, does our plan fit on the land that you want? So very key to ask those questions. But your setbacks, one, you can go to council and ask them. But if you are going to council, just make sure you check with them that, hey, does this specific block that I'm looking at have its own unique rules, or does it fall under the umbrella of the entire suburb or that area within the suburb? Because they can change. They can change.
And when you go to council, if you want something a little bit different,
yep,
you always take cash. Is that right? Does
that
still work?
I think so. Didn't work here. I'll say that. It might work in some parts, and
yeah, you just take cash. It's not a check or anything that can be traced. Whenever you're dealing with council and you want something a little bit, always take the cash.
Always cash. Cash is key,
okay.
huh?
All right, we can share a.
So that's your setbacks. You want to know that, but like I said, just be mindful, guys, because there could be a ruling for the suburb, but that specific block could be unique in that it has its own rules, and separate again.
And so you find the setbacks.
Yep.
And then if you want an 8-story house, you can build that.
No, you got to work within this height restrictions. Obviously, council will let you know about that.
So even though I own my land, I'm not king of the castle.
You're not. Unfortunately, you're not.
And that's, look, we joke about it, but we hear stories that come back to us where people have gone out and they've looked at various blocks of land throughout New South Wales, and then they come back to us and say, fantastic, you know, I can excavate,
yeah.
I can have 1 story underground, I can have 2 stories above, and 44 lemon trees on the property, you know, and they're very excited.
You're talking to my dad, Glenn.
Yeah, and they're very, very excited about it. But just like anything in property in New South Wales, it's highly regulated. That regulation has caused probably the price bubble that we're in at the moment. It's slow to get things through. So when you are looking to build a new home, you know, it is a process. You have to be patient, and you have to work within the guidelines. That's where the advantage of some of these places that have the turnkey homes, turnkey meaning that's all you do. You just get the keys, turn it, and you're in, and still have the benefits of some of these subsidies that are being offered. Work out really well. A couple more terms, DCP and CDC.
So we should have a breakdown after this video finishes of what all these terms are. But this is more a question for when you're building a home. There's 2 main types of building codes here in New South Wales. There's a state government building code, which is what we call a CDC, and that stands for a complying development code. And the reason that there's a second, like a state building code is that the state government didn't want local councils to be bogged down with building applications. So they said, here's some base rules. If you work within those, you can follow those rules, and it can speed up the process by not blocking up councils' channels. The other one is a DA, which is a development application, again, to build your house, and that follows the local planning of the council, which is called your DCP, or your development control plan, and that's going to be unique to every council, depending on which area you're looking to build in. So 2 different codes. One is you can follow your local council, where you put a DA in to build a house. The second one is you can do a complying development code. The difference there is that you don't need to go through council. you can actually have those plans, what we call privately certified, and approved and built through that way.
So privately certified, I don't have to go to council, I don't have to wait in line. So how does that work?
So you would have plans that will be lodged by your home builder. Once those plans comply, once your project's finished, essentially you don't need council to come out and check it all. You'll have somebody that's privately certified, hence the term private certified, and they'll come out and handle the finalisation of that plan for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the ones, now 30 properties in Warriewood.
Yeah.
Name the street after you, Boxhead Parade.
It's only one way in.
But they named the street after you. And how did they go about it? What are they doing? Are they going out and getting architects, or are you finding they're going another way?
So do you mean the buyers that bought in there, Glenn?
Yeah, the people that purchased the land.
So the purchasers that were buying these blocks in this estate that we've just completed here at Novak Properties is they would come through, they'd look at the land, we'd provide them with plans, a site plan, which is basically an outlay of the block. We'd provide that plan called a building envelope, so they knew the setbacks. They were then going out and speaking to multiple builders and saying, hey guys, this is what I'm looking at. You know, does that work? Does it not work? And then they were proceeding beyond that. I mean, the better blocks were going straight away. So a lot of people weren't even talking to builders. They were just securing blocks of land straight up. And the ones that, you know, might have been in a tighter location to move, then they had a bit more time to speak with builders. But the process is generally go out, speak to some builders, and make sure it works with what you're looking at. What I would say is, as a real estate agent, if you're watching this and you are going to do a development, do the legwork up front, go out and speak to these builders before you go to market, so that once you are talking to buyers, you know, you've got 3 or 4 different plans with 3 or 4 different builders to say, hey guys, here's someone that can help you, can answer some questions, and somebody else, you know, and try to offer that information up front. It'll make the process a lot easier come selling.
So when, say you go with a company, a reputable company, to build on one of these blocks, and they're building 2 or 3 in the development, they know the setbacks.
Yeah.
Fences, stuff like that.
Yeah, I've got a lot of questions. Fences, I'll be honest, it's pretty much up to you and your neighbour to work it out. Most people are good and they're just going down the middle, splitting the fee down the middle. Some developers will build them. It's a lot easier if they do, but if they don't, you'll just find you'll have to talk to your neighbour and get your own fence up.
And if you put the fence up, you pay for it yourself. You can move it over a metre onto the neighbour.
I knew we were going there. I just knew this conversation would go there.
Oh, mate, well, I was an agent in the inner west in Earlwood.
Yeah.
And yeah.
All those fences were spot on the boundary, weren't they?
Spot on the neighbour's side of the boundary. They're correct. How did you guess?
Just a good one. But yeah, fencing's an interesting topic there as well.
So for, you know, young families out there wanting to get something a little bit bigger, the notion of going further afield than, you know, that band of 8, 10, 12 Ks from the city can work at home. Do you think it's a viable option?
I do. And Mark and I spoke about it last week, and we've spoken about it. Just that necessity to be close to work has changed in the last 8 months, 12 months. And it makes sense now to be in the lifestyle that you want. And if it's at a better price point, all the better for you as well. But to have those options to work from home is a growing trend. And I don't think it's just here for now. I think it's here to stay, Glenn. What do you reckon?
I definitely see this trend where we can not be so reliant on the CBD. Like revenue in the CBD is astronomically down because people aren't going.
Well, I'll ask you a question, Glenn. You're a keen surfer. You're obviously heavily involved with the community here. Do you see a lot of people that you know moving up and down the coast recently?
Look, there'd be, from the little crew that I grew up with, like 13 to 23 down the beach. Yeah. You know, even myself, I went away for 20 years to other parts of Sydney, but a lot of that had to do with restraining orders and things of that nature. But
lockdown laws,
locked out laws, you know, like, but no, most of them move up the coast.
Yeah.
So this is something that's really interesting to me. We've had, you know, groups of, you know, my peers from down that way. Some have gone up to the Sunshine Coast. Some have gone a little bit further up. We had a group of people, you know, back in 2000 go down to Ulladulla, Mollymook, and those sorts of areas. And I think
What about now? Do you think people are doing that more now?
I think you'll see, okay, like the families that are going to school with Izzy at DY public school, they're going to weigh up, because median price of apartments in DY is about 834,000. Median price of houses in this area, Cromer, Beacon Hill and Lambie, it's probably closer to 1.4, 1.5. So that's a big jump.
Yeah,
that's a lot of additional debt you're taking on in either your early 30s or your 40s. And they're going to say, well, you know what, I can keep the same debt, move out of Sydney, someone else will come in and fill my property in DY, whatever we build in DY, whatever, like we've had probably 500 units come on be built in the last 2 years and settle.
Yeah.
It gets filled, so someone will fill it. I think they're making the option, move further up the coast,
enjoy that lifestyle and build your dream home. But a lot to take on board tonight. Obviously, if we can help you, feel free to call us. We can help you a lot more. But my takeaway points would be know your budget going into it. And then when you're in there, know what the block can give you in regards to the size of home you can build, and try to get as best an indication on time frame, because these projects can run long or short, and then you can make your family decisions, life decisions based upon those kind of three main factors.
Yeah, like some of the mistakes I've seen people make is they sell out of their family home because they think I'll go and rent. And they buy their block of land, and that process is longer than what they thought.
Absolutely.
Because the contracts with these home and land packages or land packages, they have what's called a sunset clause in them.
Yeah.
Steph will explain that. And they can stretch that time out because, once again, we're a highly regulated state with development. They have to go through it might be local government, then state government takes something to land titles.
You never know.
To get it through.
Yeah.
And subsequently it can be a bit slow. So a sunset clause.
Sunset clause is generally a clause that you'll find in your contract when you're buying again off the plan or something that's not ready yet to occupy. And basically it's a date that's set as a worst case scenario to say, look, if the developer hasn't delivered your home or your land by a certain date, either party can walk away from the agreement. It's key to know either party can walk away. It is much tougher for a developer to walk away today than a purchaser, than you or I if we were buying that block of land. But you've also got to understand these sunset clauses, although it's sold to you, it's told to you as a worst case scenario, it does also allow for certain variations to it. So if you've had bad weather for 3 months out of that 12-month period, then they might be granted an 8-week extension to the sunset clause. So that can still vary a little bit. But essentially, sunset clause is supposed to be the end date, the end or do all date of which you should have your property.
All right. So, look, I hope we've given you a few ideas tonight. I normally don't do this, but Steph and I are both looking at this migration of people and where they're living, how they're working. That's quite interesting to me.
Well, I know growing up on the beaches, so many of my school friends have moved up the coast, or even all the way nearly up to the Queensland border, because we're on the northern beaches, beautiful beaches at our footstep, and we've got a whole coastline, that offers it. And now more and more, there's these opportunities for great homes.
Yeah. It also too, if you're looking to go regional, don't leave it too late. Real estate, and in most things in life, we love to follow. So everyone's doing it, we do it. That's what creates booms in real estate.
It's a market trend.
Yeah, everyone sees their friends. I've been doing this for a while now. I've been doing it, when we used to advertise in black and white.
Yeah.
When we used to send pigeons to each other to get messages through. So, but there's all trends, there's the trend now to use your super to buy property. There's, people looking to invest in commercial where they would have just done residential. So lots of things are sort of changing. Don't leave a seed or tree change too late. If you want to talk to us about strategies to do that, more than happy. Once again, please lean on Steph. He's about 110 kilos. You won't knock him over, but lean on him for any questions you have. Turnkey projects or land projects.
We're here to help, and look, doesn't matter where you are in Australia. We'd love to help you, and obviously we're well versed in New South Wales property.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Glenn, thank you. It's been a while since we've sat down and done a Monday together evening, but always fun.
Always. So have a lovely Monday evening. Relax. Tuesday will come in a few hours.
We rehearsed that finish. Guys, have a great night.
Bye.
Thank you. Cheers.
I'll never have to do it again.
Oh, maybe, Glenn.
You save it.